So this is Amr Fuad and we talk about Office Development 101. Today we will talk about a very interesting topic, which is building a loosely coupled intranet. So before we dive in and see how we build a loosely coupled intranet, let's talk about how we used to build intranets. We used to build intranets on top of SharePoint, and it's highly customizable and have extensive branding. So whenever we build this intranets, which follow these two things, customizable and extensive branding, it will become very, very difficult for us to move or migrate our investment, our customization from a SharePoint version to another SharePoint version. And it was okay because we have 3 years period between these two versions. Sometimes it's like, okay, 2015 is here, but I'm still going to use 2010. We are in almost 2017, and I actually see people still using 2010, very highly customizable. They don't move to 2013 or beyond that because they spend a lot of effort, a lot of money customizing SharePoint 2010. So what is the solution? So the solution is building a standalone web application that is somehow it's outside of SharePoint context. It's a web application connects to SharePoint using APIs. And why the loosely coupled internet approach is better? First thing is you can use any technology stack. So you're not limited to ASP.NET or front-end JavaScript. If you want to build stuff on top of SharePoint now, you need to learn the SharePoint framework. It has its own use cases. There's the add-in model as well. You can build in ASP.NET, you can build an add-in using also any technology stack. So we're building a web application. It's basically using any technology stack. It's going to connect to Office 365 workloads, including SharePoint Online, using the APIs and Azure AD application. And the second thing is future-proof. So any investment you build in your user experience, it's not going to be intact by any new update to SharePoint Online or 2016 because APIs are versioned. I'm connecting to the V1 of the APIs, for example, for Microsoft Graph. It will still work. I don't need to change any of my UI, revamp anything when Microsoft release V2, which is currently beta, because V1 will still work. If I want to leverage any enhancement in V2, then it will be your decision to actually change the UI to incorporate any of these enhancements in the next version of the APIs. But it will be totally your call. Your customization and your investment won't break when Microsoft release a new version of the APIs. So, and again, it's not only SharePoint that we can connect to Microsoft Graph, Power BI, display some dashboards, and SharePoint to display some search results, some content on our intranet as well. So, what you really need to start building a loosely coupled intranet, the first thing is you need an Azure AD application. So, an Azure AD application is the one that can authenticate us, connect us to these endpoints. And we saw in the first episode how to create an Azure AD application and the different authentication modes, which is an app-only mode and a delegated permission mode. Today we will use a delegated permission mode because it's a web application. The user needs to log in and use the internet, access all the content that they are allowed to access. And the second thing is you just need any development tool. Today I'm going to use a Visual Studio Code. And this is what we're going to build. We're going to build a one page, which consists of 3 directives or 3 components. One to display OneDrive, my OneDrive files. The other to display my Exchange messages. And the third one is to get content from SharePoint and display it in a carousel. So if I flick through Visual Studio Code here, and this is basically the application. I have a public folder, which is basically my front-end code to be served as is. And in this, I have an app folder, which consists of all of my components, my Angular components. And I have one view, single view, which is this one here. And in the view, I'm actually having a 12-column grid. It has a header, and if it's connected, I'm going to display these 3 reports, let's say, or Angular directive. So I'm saying hi, I'm getting the user name from here, and this is the search results. I have some parameters to pass to my directive here, and this is the file explorer, which is basically will display my OneDrive file. This one's here, and this is the message viewer. And each directive, it will be the code of each directive is here. So let's see, in the File Explorer, I have a directive which connects to Microsoft Graph here, and it goes to the directory, my current existing directory, which is a scope or variable. And this directory has been changed every time I'm navigating, and I'm executing an HTTP request to this endpoint, which is a Microsoft Graph endpoint. But here we can see where is the authentication, where's the usage of the Azure AD application. So if we go to the app here, we'll find a configuration that is actually using an active directory authentication library. ADL has 3 different versions, I believe, or even 4 versions now. One is the Angular module, and one is the native JavaScript, and one is the Node.js, which is ADL-Node. And I think there is a PHP version for it just released, I think, 1 month ago or something. So we're using the Azure Active Directory Authentication Library Angular module to configure here the authentication. So here I'm giving the tenant ID, the client ID of my application, which can be read from here. So this is my client ID, this is my Azure AD client ID, and my tenant ID, which is, you can actually replace it by common if you're building a multi-tenant application. And here's the endpoints I need. So I need an endpoint, which is the APIs from SharePoint. I need the Microsoft Graph, and I need the Power BI. But for this example, I don't need it, so I can actually remove Power BI from here. I would save, and let's run this one. So it's a Node.js application. I'm running it as Node server.js. Let's open, go to Chrome. Let's open implementer mode, localhost, and I'm having it on board 9090. You can see here the server is running, start serving all the static files here. Yep, and I'm clicking on login. And I'm logging in, and now, as I can see, my files are still loading, my message is also still loading, and here it is. I got my search results from SharePoint, I got my OneDrive content here, and soon I will get my messages here. Yep, from Exchange. So what the Angular module is doing actually is basically an interceptor. So any HTTP call, it's actually adding the authentication bits first if it doesn't actually find a token in the local storage. And let's see now how this actually looks like. So if I go here, go to the application and local, actually it's in the session storage, I can see here a token for each endpoint. So I have an endpoint, which is this one, which is the Azure AD endpoint itself, which is which is the permission is added by default when you create any Azure AD application. And the second one here is the Microsoft token, and the third one is the SharePoint token. And each token will have an expiration key. Okay, and this is the ID token as well. So this is the access token for the 3 endpoints. And with it, whenever I'm doing a request to SharePoint endpoint, I'm taking the SharePoint token, which is this one, and I'm passing it through, so I get authenticated and I get my results back. So if we dive in and see one of the directives, which is the File Explorer, we can see here it has 2 scope variables. One is the current directory. And if I go and actually double click on this folder, I'm changing the directory. Once I'm changing the directory, it's actually trying to get the content of this directory. If I'm going up, it's also executing another call to get the files of the parent directory. So as we can see here, So its load resource is the one who's actually constructing the URL, the endpoint of the Microsoft Graph. We're using version 1 here. And it executes an HTTP request. Once I'm doing the HTTP request, the interceptor is trying to get the token from the session storage, and it finds the token, add it at a bearer header, and it's actually execute the call to Microsoft Graph. And then this is basically, the level up, which is basically when I dive into a specific folder. As long as I'm not in the root, I have this link to navigate up to the root folder of my OneDrive. And that's pretty much it. That's very, very basic thing. And the template for it is this one here. So this is my File Explorer template. Messages is even simpler than that. It's just executing call to me messages, and that's it. There is no filtration, no interaction, and even the UI of it is also very, very simple. It's just a list of the messages. Okay. The most complicated one here is the search results one. As you can see from the view here, that it has a lot of parameters or properties here. So the row limits, which is I'm using to limit my search results, the search base URL, which I'm using to construct the search, the query itself. So I'm querying a site, this is the URL of the site. I'm querying a specific content type, which is called news page, which is similar to the query that you put on SharePoint. It's exactly the same. And a title, which is a new search. And here I try to map the properties I've got from the manager properties I got from search to a simple properties, which is instead of path, I need to call it link. Publishing image, I just need image, title as well, and comments is subtitle for me, and article date, OWS date, is gonna be date. So whenever I'm displaying this into the search, I'm displaying item.date, item.subtitle instead of the properties I'm retrieving by default from the search service. And yep, that's pretty much it. It's very neat. And to get a version of this, the latest version of this code, you can actually go to my GitHub account here. Repositories, and this is the one. This is called O365 New Intranet. This is the URL of it. And thank you for watching us, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Office Development 101. And happy holidays, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.